How about we visit my parents' place this Christmas?
My husband, Gerald's words were where it all began. This was also the beginning of the end. My name is Catherine. I'm a 35-year-old housewife. I met Gerald at work, and we got married. Soon after our wedding, I gave birth to our precious daughter, Jessica, and left my job. Since she turned 6, we made our first trip to Gerald's parents' house far away.
Hey, when's dinner gonna be ready?
My mother-in-law, Mary's voice echoed through the room.
Ah, yes, Mom. Just a little longer.
I responded while rushing around. Mary let out a deep sigh.
You sure are slow, Gerald. How do you even put up with a wife like this?
Yeah, I know. Other wives move way faster. This one's a real slowpoke.
What the? How dare you? Lying around watching TV like a king. I was about to fire back at Gerald when Mary's orders hit me.
Once you're done with breakfast, clean the yard. After that, organize the storage closet, and then sort out the stuff in the shed.
Wait a second, it's Christmas, right? The one time of the year I'm supposed to relax and unwind. So why am I being worked to the bone? Meanwhile, Gerald kept being his lazy self, making me even more furious. By the time I finished all the chores, I was so exhausted I couldn't move. I collapsed into a seat in the living room.
Phew. I'm beat.
Who said you could rest? Get lunch started now.
Mary barked, wasting no time.
I've been working all morning. Can't I rest a little?
A wife is basically a maid. What? You think you can freeload here without working? Get back to it.
You've got to be kidding me.
Gerald's parents live in a rural area. Rural places cling to old traditions, for better or worse. A wife is considered part of the family she marries into. It seems that this old-fashioned way of thinking still lingers. Even in the past, no wife was ever worked this hard.
Honey, can you help me a little?
Not a chance.
Gerald shut me down without hesitation. He never helps at home. Even worse here, an absolute slacker. I swear he hasn't moved from that spot on the couch since this morning.
Hey, I need to buy groceries.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come with me.
The nearest grocery store is far. Since Gerald had been drinking since morning, I couldn't rely on him to drive, and I'm currently on medications, which restricts me from driving after intake. That left walking as my only option, but it's a 30-minute trip one way.
At least help me carry the bags.
No.
Another instant refusal. I seriously considered chucking a sticky slime at his face. Imagine him peeling that mess off, all gooey and stubborn. As I imagined that, Gerald was swinging a beer can lazily right in front of me.
I just had a drink.
What's with the robot talk?
I am drunk now.
And so?
I can't go.
So, what he means is he just doesn't want to go. Useless idiot. Just as my frustration was about to boil over, Mary shouted from behind me.
Is dinner ready yet?
Oh, for crying out loud. I'm buying all the gooey slimes when I go.
I finally made it back.
That 30-minute walk felt endless. On the way back, both my hands were full of groceries. Barely able to stay upright, I staggered into the house. I plopped the bags down, sat in the entryway, and let out a long sigh. That's when I heard it.
Hurry up, will you? Honestly, you're just as slow as your mother.
Sorry.
I heard Mary shouting and Jessica apologizing in a small, fearful voice. At that moment, I was like a robot whose backup energy kicked in after its main power ran out. Forgetting my exhaustion, I sprang to my feet with a burst of momentum and dashed toward the source of their voices. I stepped right over Gerald, still sprawled on the couch. I heard him groan pathetically under my feet, but it wasn't my problem. I dashed straight to the kitchen. What I saw there made me shout.
What do you think you're doing?
Both Mary and Jessica turned to look at me.
Mom. Oh, you're finally back.
Jessica's face lit up when she saw me, her eyes brimming with tears. Mary, in contrast, was sitting smugly in a chair.
What are you doing?
I demanded again. Mary scoffed, unfazed. I noticed Jessica was holding a knife. Why?
Jessica, what are you doing?
Flustered, Jessica began explaining.
Grandma said she was hungry and told me to make pasta. She said I had to prepare the ingredients first.
Unbelievable. Can't even cook pasta. What a useless granddaughter. What are you even teaching her? Like mother, like daughter. Are you sure she's even Gerald's kid?
That was it. Insulting me was one thing, but not my daughter.
She's only 6 years old. You expect a little kid to cook pasta? Sure, she knows the basics, but couldn't you do it yourself? How could you treat your own granddaughter like that?
Mary snapped and said,
Oh, how dare you! Are you saying you expect an old woman like me to do the work? What a terrible person you are. Listen up. Wives are maids, and maids keep their mouths shut and work. And their daughters? They're maids too.
Maids.
Exactly. And don't forget who's paying the bills. You're living off my son's hard-earned money. You owe him and me respect. Now quit whining and get back to work, maid.
With that, Mary stormed out of the kitchen. I stood there, stunned into silence, too shocked to respond. It took me a moment to process everything. Mary had stormed off into the living room, where Gerald was. I could hear the two of them talking.
Your wife is useless. She's worse than a maid.
Yeah, well, give it some time. Once the kid's older, she'll be useful too. Just gotta be patient.
You've got it rough, don't you? If you want, you can always move back home, you know?
Divorce? Sure, I'm fine with that. But we'll still need a maid, right? Hey, why don't we all live together? I've had enough of my jobs anyway. Letting her work while I relax and enjoy life in the countryside doesn't sound too bad.
What did Gerald say? His horrifying suggestion sent chills down my spine.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Mary chimed in enthusiastically, leaving me frozen in place. As I clenched my fists, I suddenly felt a small, warm hand gently rest on mine.
Mom?
It was Jessica. I slowly looked at her. Her little face filled with concern as she gazed up at me. I crouched down to meet her eye level, speaking softly.
Hey, Jessica.
Yeah?
Do you like Daddy?
The hesitation spoke volumes. Of course, she couldn't answer right away. Gerald never cared about parenting. Even when he came home from work, he rarely talked to me or Jessica. Instead, he spent his time either lounging on the couch watching TV or scrolling through his phone. On weekends, he'd go out drinking with friends, only to return late at night. When the pandemic kept him home, he just drank until late every night, nursing a hangover the next day. During long weekends, he either lounges around the house or goes out with friends. We've hardly ever gone out as a family. Come to think of it, when was the last time we did? How many months, no, how many years has it been since this so-called family trip? He has no idea what Jessica likes or dislikes. He certainly doesn't care what she wants to be when she grows up. I bet he doesn't even know which class Jessica is in at kindergarten. It's no wonder Jessica can't say she likes a father like that. Honestly, who could blame her? So, I asked her again.
Do you like Grandma?
No.
That answer came without hesitation. I couldn't help but chuckle. Well, who could blame her after all the yelling and scolding? Just when I thought I'd heard it all, Jessica said something unexpected.
Grandma's mean to you, Mom. It's supposed to be Christmas, but you haven't been able to rest at all. She's been making you do everything. She's terrible.
Kids notice more than we give them credit for. Well, with all those commands being thrown around so boldly, it's no wonder she noticed. Still chuckling, I asked the most important question.
Jessica, would you want to live with Grandma?
She shook her head.
Do you want Daddy to live with us?
Nope.
Her quick reply was music to my ears. Her response made me finalize my decisions. The next morning, I left with Jessica for a little outing. By the time we returned to Gerald's parents' house, night had already fallen. As soon as we stepped inside, we were met with the angry, impatient faces of Gerald and Mary.
Oh, you're finally back. Where the hell have you been?
Just out for a bit.
I replied, sidestepping Gerald's question. Seeing my evasive answer, Mary chimed in with her usual smug attitude.
Honestly, young wives these days. Fine, I've decided. You're the maid now. Hey maid, I'm hungry. Where's my food and tea?
Still playing the commander, as always. Without saying a word, I set out tea for both of them. Just as Gerald reached for his cup, I snatched it away in one swift motion.
What the? Hey, what's your problem?
He asked, bewildered. Without another word, I dumped the tea all over his head.
Whoa, what the hell?
Don't worry. I cooled it down first.
I said calmly.
That's not the point. Stop.
As he flailed, I dodged his reaching hand with ease and gently set the teacup back down with a soft clink.
Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're the maid.
Mary shouted, her eyes bulging with anger.
Shut up. I'm not your maid, or anyone else's.
I shot back, my voice sharp. Mary jumped to her feet, ready to yell, but I cut her off.
What?
Listen carefully, a wife is not a maid. If you didn't know that, let me educate you, I'm not a maid.
Seeing Mary at a loss for words, I pressed on, as if struggling to process my words. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I leaned in closer, glaring at her with icy calm, watching her face turn pale.
What?
She whimpered, backing away slightly. Unbothered, I brought my face even closer, until only a few inches separated us.
Let me make this very clear. There is no world where wives are slaves to their in-laws. I'll protect my family, but I am not anyone's servant.
But I'm your husband's mother. I'm family. That means you have to listen to me.
You must be kidding. If I were really a maid, that would mean I wasn't family. So, why are you giving orders like you're in charge of me?
I responded with icy precision. With that, she exploded.
How dare you? How dare you speak to me like that?
Oh, really? You've been calling me you this whole time, haven't you? So don't act all high and mighty when I do the same. Who do you think you are, anyway?
I am your mother-in-law. That's who.
Yeah? Say that nonsense in your sleep.
I had held back for so long, fat too long. However, this was the limit. Everyone has a breaking point, and mine had been reached. Gerald's laziness, Mary's contempt, and their sheer audacity finally shattered the last of my patience.
And another thing. How dare you treat your own granddaughter like a maid? What kind of grandmother does that? You better cut it out right now.
I leaned in even closer, watching her face turn pale again. Her expression kept shifting unpredictably, like signals flickering on and off. Pathetic. After all that smug talk, just a little pushback and she crumbled. Mary's shallowness left me feeling underwhelmed. Her weakness was laughable. She stood there, trembling slightly, her face pale as a sheet. Satisfied, I turned my attention to the other person in the room.
Now it's your turn.
I growled.
Eek. Yes, ma'am.
Gerald stammered pitifully. I shot him a cold glare.
So, while your wife and daughter were being treated like maids, what were you doing?
I was on my phone.
And?
Drinking beer.
Oh, so watching your wife and daughter get treated like maids was your entertainment, huh? Must be nice to live like a king.
I'm sorry.
If sorry fixed everything, we wouldn't need police.
Yikes.
I roared, my face twisted in fury, and Gerald let out a pathetic yelp. He scrambled behind his mother like a frightened child hiding behind her skirts. What is this? The sight was so pathetic it gave me a headache. Time to cut to the chase. I pulled a document from my bag and thrust it toward him.
Here. Just sign this.
What is that?
Gerald peeked out from behind his mother, looking just like a baby turtle clinging to its mother's back. When he saw the words on the paper, he turned pale.
A divorce agreement? What the hell?
I'm done. I'm not coming back here ever again.
With my words, Mary gasped,
What?
followed by Gerald's echo of, as they both stood there slack-jawed. I tossed my hair over my shoulder.
My part is already filled out. I'll be dropping this off at the office right after the holiday break. So hurry up and sign it.
This must be fake. The government offices are closed during the holidays.
Too bad for you, divorce forms are available even on holidays. You can download them online or pick them up anytime. And just so you know, I can submit this tonight if I want.
I pressed the form into Gerald's hand. Tears welled in his eyes as he shook his head in panic.
No, I don't want a divorce.
Oh. You're afraid of me leaving?
Yes.
Because having me around makes your life easier?
Yes.
Because it's more comfortable for you when I act like a maid, and that's why you don't want a divorce?
Yes. Wait, no. That's not what I meant.
Too late, Gerald. You just admitted it.
Yikes.
He let out another shriek. This was starting to feel like déjà vu. I had just made him scream like this earlier. Oh well. If he wouldn't sign it, I'd just have to take this to the professionals.
Whether you sign or not, this divorce is happening. My parents already know everything. Jessica.
Yes, Mom. What is it?
Are you all packed?
Yep. Got everything.
Jessica popped her head out from around the corner, her cheerful face a breath of fresh air in this mess. She proudly raised her little bag over her head, beaming.
Wait, are you really leaving?
With Jessica's bag in one hand and my own luggage in the other, I turned to face Gerald.
Good question. We're heading to my parents' house.
What? You gotta be kidding.
The only joke here is you.
Eek. I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, really? What do you call dragging your wife and daughter here just to treat them like maids? We're done. I'll sort out the divorce properly with a lawyer. Goodbye.
I said what I wanted. Having said my piece, I grabbed our bags and walked toward the front door with Jessica by my side. Gerald trailed behind, panicking.
Wait, you can't survive without me.
I stopped dead in my tracks, slowly turning around. Gerald froze in place, sensing the shift in my gaze.
Have you forgotten?
I asked quietly.
Forgotten what?
I used to outrank you at work. I made more money than you, remember? I only quit because I got pregnant, but even back then, I earned more than you do now.
His face turned pale. Had he really forgotten that we'd worked at the same company? Selective memory at its finest. Sure, I've been out of the workforce for a while, but I'll get back into it, bit by bit. My parents already promised to help us.
I'm staying with my parents for a while. I'll find my way back into the workforce, and even if I don't earn as much as I did before, we'll be fine. No, we'll be better off.
Seeing the resolve in my eyes, Gerald's face crumpled and tears welled up.
I'm sorry. I'll change, I promise. Please just don't divorce me.
You've had plenty of chances to change, and you wasted every one of them. Regret won't save you now.
With that, I reached for the front door. That moment,
Wait.
it was Mary, speaking up for the first time since all this began. What now? Irritated, I turned around to face her, only to find her wearing a troubled expression.
What now?
She wore a troubled expression as she blurted out.
What about? What about my dinner?
I don't care.
I shouted, matching her volume. Without looking back, Jessica and I walked out the door, leaving that house and that life behind us. We headed straight to my parents' house. I wouldn't trust him with monthly payments.
Well, sounds like you had a rough start to Christmas.
My mom said as she ushered us toward the fireplaces. Relieved, Jessica plopped down and started relaxing. Ah. This is what Christmas should feel like. It had been an exhausting holiday. I silently vowed to visit the church tomorrow, wishing for a peaceful year ahead. Later. In the end, Gerald fought hard to avoid the divorce, but with Jessica refusing to see him, the decision was clear. We finalized the divorce, with him paying child support in one lump sum. I wouldn't trust him with monthly payments. We sold the apartment, and Gerald moved back in with his mother.
Mom doesn't do anything. She's worse than ever.
One day, Gerald called me, whining about his miserable life. Apparently, some neighbors had witnessed how I was treated like a servant during my visit. Thanks to the small-town gossip network, news of our divorce had already spread far and wide. As a result, Mary had become a social pariah, shunned by the neighbors. Well, that's only fair. Even in a rural town, calling your daughter-in-law a maid is beyond unacceptable. Talk about being stuck in the past. Mary has become a recluse, lashing out at Gerald and treating him like her personal servant. Apparently, he's started snapping back at her, and their arguments have become a daily thing, at least, that's what he complained about over the phone. Not that I really care about any of that. I had only called to confirm that the child support payment had gone through and then planned to hang up.
It's your own fault.
I said coldly. I could imagine him on the other end, almost in tears.
Please help me out a little. I'm still Jessica's father, and Mom is her grandmother after all.
Though he couldn't see me, I smiled sweetly and said,
I drink now.
What? What's with that weird talk?
I am drunk now.
Come on.
I can't go.
Look, I said I was sorry.
Like I'd ever go back there.
I shouted, slamming the phone down. Then, I blocked his number. Laughter is the best medicine, after all. For a while after that, I couldn't stop laughing.